Exactly 2 weeks ago, the full opening day of 2025 in Major League Baseball. So, in the opening 2 weeks of this 2025 campaign, what has Mark Zinno seen? Well, let's go full big picture and look at those World Series odds. The Dodgers still remain a drastically short favorite at a plus 240 price. The New York Yankees have seen their price get a little bit better by about $1.50 at plus 750. Philadelphia 11-1, the New York Mets 11-1, as we might expect. But Zeno, there was actually a National League team ahead of both the Phils and the Amazons. That would be the team where you reside in Atlanta. The Braves off to a 2-9 start. Now, you are a Yankees fan, but let's start with Atlanta. What is the issue for the Braves on this 2-9 beginning to 2025, and how quickly can they turn things around?
They didn't hit the first week of the season. It went to 0-7. Oh, by the way, no team that has ever started 0-7 has made the playoffs, and only two teams that started 0-7 finished above 500. So it'll be a historic climb for the Braves to get back in this thing after giving away a week of the season to the Dodgers and the Padres. And some people will sit there and say, oh, you played two of the best teams in the NL West. Yeah, you did. You're just not supposed to go 0-7 against anybody in Major League Baseball. The sport of baseball doesn't really allow for that, period, when you talk about the way the game unfolds night in and night out. So, yeah, were they a little unlucky? Sure, but this is a Braves team that has some holes. You know, they came into this year, guys, with a ton of what-ifs. What if Ronald Acuna gets back to 40-40? What if Spencer Strider is healthy? What if Sean Murphy can give you an 800 OPS as a catcher again? What if Matt Olson returns to the 50 home run form? What if this? There's a lot of what ifs, and it's really hard to make all those what ifs go to the yes side as opposed to the no side, and that's what the Braves are dealing with right now. And they've got a long way to go to get out of this thing, but this is a team right now that no one's really pushing the panic button per se because it's a long season, but you have to acknowledge it's a big hole to get out of. I say it all the time. You can't win the pennant in April, but you can certainly lose it.
Yeah, we've been certainly using that same terminology as well, because you look at the Braves, they are talented here, but just the big guys aren't hitting. The middle of that lineup, Austin Riley, we pointed out, big home run last night, but the guy's hitting like 160, 170. Same thing with Olson. Once the weather gets a little bit warmer down there, that launch pad begins. Acuna's back in your lineup, and we'll see how that team can certainly progress. But if we do focus on the top of the odds leaderboard per se, the Dodgers at a plus 240 price, like they're mortal as well. Start of the season, will they ever lose a game? Drop the series to Philadelphia, drop the series to the lowly Washington Nationals, but that price point doesn't seem to move. When you're looking at the Dodgers itself, like the Braves started out bad. Their line is dropping back. Now, granted, bad for the Dodgers and what their record is completely different than the Braves, but nobody's panicking about the Dodgers because we think they'll be there. Same thing with the Braves at 13-1. At the end of the season, they just have to make the playoffs, and they're playing good baseball. They will be a formidable opponent. But the focus on the Dodgers, Mark, plus 240. Any value in that plus 240? Just sit that ticket now?
I think you still got to wait it out. I mean, if for whatever reason they hit another losing streak and, somehow San Diego finishes the first month of the season in first place and you can get something closer to 3-1 than where you are right now, then you fire. Because to your point, yes, the Dodgers just have to get there, and they should have a better roster than everybody else that's there, regardless whether that's division or the wild card, even though the path may be a little bit more difficult. I don't know if that's the case for the Braves or other teams, but for the Dodgers, yeah, as long as they get there, they should be fine. Again, I'm still with the Mets, as far as my value where they are. Give me Juan Soto in the postseason. I think they're good enough. Their pitching needs to get a little bit better. The Mets need to come around. But for the most part, this is a team right now that will lay low for the first month or two. And then I think you'll see the Mets as the summer gets here start to look very much like a World Series contender.
And the Dodgers' price has gotten shorter since the start of their season after they swept the Cubs in that two-game Tokyo set around a plus 280, plus 290 price earlier in the offseason. Ridiculously short then, even shorter now. All right, Zeno, final minute on your New York Yankees, snapping a 3-game slide and avoiding a sweep yesterday in the Motor City against Jack Flaherty and the Detroit Tigers. Max Fried in pinstripes has looked really, really good so far this year. What is your assessment in the opening 2 weeks on the Yanks?
I mean, look, right now it's something that you can look at and go, if Aaron Judge keeps hitting home runs and Max Fried is pitching the way they are, they should have enough to be near the top of the division. I mean, it's good to see Paul Goldschmidt batting a lofty 383 and as an OPS around 940. Like, that is what is important. If they get complimentary additions from Goldschmidt Bellinger, when he's not puking up chicken wings, and whoever else they can get, Clark rotation, then they should be good as far as it is. But it's about depth. They have to judge and Max Fried, it's question marks.
Best chicken wings in Atlanta, where?
Bellinger.
Oh, Magic City.
Magic City. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the wings. Howard Free next. Around Major League Baseball on this Thursday, here we go. And we start with a series that Donnie is paying great attention to. His Philadelphia Phillies on the road in Atlanta. Rubber match. The Braves won the first game in a much more high-scoring tilt than we expected, with Zach Wheeler and Chris Sale getting the start. Atlanta victorious 7-5. Last night, courtesy of a Trey Turner home run, his first of the year in the ninth inning in a key and crucial spot. The Phils respond, evening up the set through the first two games. Game number 3 tonight, Atlanta a slight favorite at home. Spencer Schwellenbach, off to a great start this year for the Braves, leads Atlanta out there as a -126 favorite. Jesus Luzardo on the other side for Philadelphia. Total 7.5. DRS, who wins the rubber match? Who wins the series?
Yeah, it's going to be a close one. It is. And you see the favorite there for the Braves. Let me just take a look because I think we had some different numbers earlier today. Okay, so -124 overnight, sits now at -126. This was as high as -130 to -140 a little bit earlier this morning because the buyback coming on the Phillies because Jesus Luzardo has been really good in his first couple starts here through around 50 or so batters on the season. Schwellenbach is a strikeout guy as well. So you look at the total itself, opened up at 8, dropped to 7.5. I do agree with that. These teams will have the opportunities to score runs like they did last night, but the opportunities weren't cashed in with actual runs. Disappointing me in the first 5 innings, needed a couple runs. They stranded 14 combined batters. But if we're being optimistic about this game, the Phillies lineup is much better than the Atlanta Braves. Outside of Trey Turner and Alec Boehm, who haven't hit right-handed pitching all that well, the rest of the lineup has done extremely well and also includes a lineup that typically has a lot of strikeouts in it, have done very well against right-handed pitchers and not striking out. That'll be key. Put the ball in play as opposed to striking out with Schwellenbach, making those positive outs as opposed to not moving the runners along could be the key. But again, Luzardo comes over to the Phillies, sort of a reclamation project. In Major League Baseball coming into the big leagues, he had high expectations. Is he now reaching them? Well, granted, only 2 starts and 46 batters. We'll find out. But here's the key. The Braves lineup just isn't very good against left-handed pitching. 091, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and a couple guys there with some green numbers. That's the ISO power numbers versus lefties. I give the advantage to the Phillies. 67 degrees warmer than it was yesterday. 4-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field. I think the Phillies can take down the Braves because they're not playing good baseball, but I do look towards the under 7.5. I'm not so sure, Ben, we get 8 runs in this game with these two pitchers.
We've actually seen a decent amount of offense, as Donnie's point in this series, at least a decent amount of traffic on those base paths to try to take advantage of. We'll see how it pays off today in game number 3 of our 6-game MLB slate on this Thursday. That one in Atlanta, DRS, the only one that starts in the evening hours. Everything else, day baseball, afternoon baseball. That includes at Fenway Park, where the Red Sox are hoping to avoid a 4-game series sweep at home against divisional foe in the Toronto Blue Jays. The Red Sox have been quite streaky. They won their opening game of the year against the Rangers, then lost their next 4, then won their next 5 in a row, and now have lost the opening 3 of this set against Toronto. Boston, an ever so slight favorite, with Walker Buehler on the bump today, a total of 9 against Chris Bassett and the Blue Jays. Will Boston avoid the 4-game sweep at home?
48 degrees, and also you hear Walker Buehler's, and I'm like, ooh, let's get excited. Last year, 407 batters, he wasn't very good. A 201 ISO power number against and a weighted on base percentage of 358. Translate that into this season. Only 44 batters he's faced, but we don't see much improvement, Ben, based off of last year. 275 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 435, but he's a right-handed pitcher. This season, the Toronto Blue Jays haven't hit right-handed pitchers all that well. Andres Jimenez in the middle of that lineup, 39 at-bats rate, 344 ISO power number. That's really good. Look at the rest of this lineup, Ben. 100, 053, 0, 133, 033, 038, 0, and 083. So if Walker Buehler is going to get right, maybe this is the lineup to do it against. And also from a Boston perspective, they've had some decent offense here. Bassett's a decent pitcher. Last year struggled a bit with lefties. This year struggling a little bit again with lefties. A lot of lefties in that lineup. Duran, Devers, Casas, Abreu, as well as Sable. So I'm looking forward to maybe a Boston Red Sox possible team total, but I'm not in love with them saying, Donnie, why don't you just take the Red Sox if you like that lineup. I just told you, I'm not all that in love with Walker Buehler the way he's been pitching so far this season.
Yeah.
So maybe looking more offense in this game. 9 takes 10 to get the total. It could happen, but maybe a Boston Red Sox team total with some of those lefties or RBI props from those guys might make more sense.
DRS, the Sox in their weekend set against the Cardinals scored 36 total runs. They've got 4 so far combined in the first 3 games against the Blue Jays. Quickly here, Royals, Twins, ending of a 4-game set in KC, where the Royals have taken 2 of the first 3. Who wins today?
By the way, last year, Ober, decent statistics. This year, 36 batters. It's red all over the place. So just looking at that as an early season handicap with the wind blowing 18 miles an hour crosswind, give me the Royals today. Let's go.
Yeah, KC, a slight home
Man.
favorite. Tom Vecchio next. Live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. We now get the prop perspective from the man that is the jack of all trades and the home run prop king. That is TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid, bright and early with us on this Thursday morning. Tom, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We have an awesome day. Like, it's not a massive day of baseball, but we have 3 different sports in action, plus the Masters getting started. I'm not here for any Masters talk, but let's get to it.
Wow. What
Scotty
a shot.
Scheffler, the reigning champ, by the way, on the course right now at Augusta, beginning his title defense. A par on number 1, teeing off as we speak on the par 5, hole number 2. Vecchio, what you are great at, though, that's the home run props. And before the year, we had a bet on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in what was supposed to be a prove it, pay me big money contract season. Well, the Blue Jays did pay him already, and Vladdy is still yet to hit one over the wall. As we look at the home run leaders in 2025 and their associated price to be the home run leader when all is said and done, of course, when Aaron Judge leads the bigs alongside Tyler Soderstrom for the most home runs so far with 6 dingers, he's going to be an odds-on favorite at minus 165. But when you have Judge in a minus money manner, Vecchio, does that allow some value elsewhere along the board in the first 2 weeks of this MLB season?
It does, shout out to Soderstrom. He's on my fantasy team this year, although I'm not going to be betting on him to win the, to lead the league in home runs. I think the answer, at least on that list, would be Kyle Schwarber, right? Donnie's guy, where we're getting him at a really good price. That's what it comes down to. And, maybe Judge grabs a few more and Schwarber falls behind. You get Schwarber closer to 20-1. Like, we know once June rolls around, like, that is Kyle Schwarber's month, and he goes through that stretch where it's like 11 home runs in the month. So be price sensitive with this, and I would say be willing to wait. Like, Judge is always going to be the favorite, but we could get other players at an awesome spot.
Yeah, looking at a couple of those, big bombers in there. It's fun. And again, we're talking about cooler temperatures in most of these games where they're being played. I can't wait to see some of these numbers once they start to elevate in the spring temperatures here. And also with 5 home runs, you see Tommy Edman. I mean, that guy seems like he is a plug and play every single day in that Dodgers lineup yesterday. And not Michael Conforto. Just wanted to get that out here in these streets. But as I digress, we'll get over to the World Series odds here for this season. The heavy favorites, the Los Angeles Dodgers at a plus 240 price, followed by the New York Yankees. When you look at some of these numbers, Tom, 2 weeks into the season, what pops out to you?
The Padres, like, their number really hasn't moved a whole lot, and they're off to a great start. I know they've just been, hit with a few injuries over the past few days. Merrill went to the IL, which is devastating to me, to lead the league in hits. We saw Cronenworth leave the game. We saw Tatis leave the game. So they're an awesome team, but we know that the Giants are also off to a great start, and the Dodgers are always going to be the favorite to win that division. So the path for the Padres is always going to be tough, but they have the talent to get it done, assuming that they get fully healthy, obviously, as the year goes on. But that's a great price to get the Padres at. Like, and they're a team that's shown that they are willing to make moves. Like, they went out and got Soto. Granted, it didn't work, but they have that aggressiveness to make those moves.
Yeah, they certainly do, Vecchio, and they will always add if they can. And their price has gotten so much better already in the opening 2 weeks with the best record in the National League and a 10-3 mark. 33-1 before the year got started, just 2 weeks in. You see that number now on San Diego.